everybody to North East Water's series of master planning and growth webinar. We've been doing a series of webinars based around LGAs, and today's focus is on Benalla Rural City. And today we're going to have presentations from myself, Guy Wilson-Brown, General Manager of Planning Infrastructure, Jill Fagan, our Manager of Planning and Livability, Morgan Courtney, our Capital Program Manager, and Tim Golan, our Manager of Assets and Development. So welcome. I'd like to start by acknowledging traditional owners of the waters on land on which we operate, and we pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging. Just a bit of housekeeping. Today's webinar session and previous webinar sessions have been recorded, so cameras and microphones are turned off. We do, however, have a Q&A function operating, so if you open up your Q&A, you will be able to post questions as we go, and then we'll get to those at the end and we'll do our best to answer them in the time that we have. We're generally going to allow 30 minutes for our presentation and then time for questions. If you would like to meet with officers and have more detailed discussions, that's certainly something that we're willing to do. So moving on. So just a little bit about North East Water, the region and the organisation ourselves. North East Water, the region, has a population of about 120,000 people. You'll see on the map there's 15 main townships of a total of about 39 towns. For the 15 major towns, we have done master plans, and you can see the area that we operate there, from Corryong in the east over to Yarrawonga in the west, and we go as far down south as Harrietville. We have about $1.6 billion worth of assets that we have to look after, upgrade and maintain, and that includes 21 water treatment plants and 22 wastewater treatment plants, and about 3,000 kilometres of mains that connects all those plants together and provides services to all the households in the North East region. So a little bit more about our, so I would also like to add that in terms of our organisation, we've got over 200 staff that live locally, and they are based here at our head offices in Wodonga and throughout the various water treatment plants that we have across the North East region. A little bit about our priority focus areas. First and foremost, ensuring that our customers have reliable and safe drinking water and a secure supply of drinking water is our number one priority, closely followed by ensuring that our wastewater is treated and is environmentally safe and complies with all the relevant environmental health guidelines. Circular economy and climate adaptation is another important focus. By 2025, we will have 100% renewable energy, including major solar farms initiatives, including the one we have here at Wodonga. And by 2035, we're aiming for net zero carbon emissions. Another key focus for us is regional partnerships, particularly with government agencies, our major trade partners, and local government consultants and developers. And everything that we're doing at the moment is engaging towards our next price period, which is a 5-year period running from mid-26 to 2031. Our strategic intent, this is a diagram that shows our strategy 2040. We've recently been through a 12-month engagement process to come up with this as our apex strategy that guides everything we do. And you can see from the middle there around our 3 ambitions, it's a triple bottom line approach that guides everything we do. Healthy environment, thriving communities and prosperous region are the 3 pillars that make up our ambitions. And we've had some significant feedback from our environmental partners and particularly traditional owners that if anything has to take preference, it's probably the healthy environment, because without a healthy environment, you don't have a thriving community and you can't support a prosperous region. But prosperous region is circled there today because what we're doing today is talking about our Forward Capital Program master planning, which particularly supports our urban development and our state government housing targets. 3 important enablers on how we deliver our ambitions: people, partnerships and innovation. And I guess today, particularly partnerships, including our major customers, key stakeholders, is an important part of our process. All right, moving on to our infrastructure planning, prioritisation and investment. This guides our master planning for the 15 townships. Our master planning for those 15 townships is pretty much complete, and we'll be giving a summary of the master planning for Rural City of Benalla today. The master planning does show how we respond to and how we will meet the state government housing targets. It's based around a 10-year capital program. The projects that come out of the master planning go through a prioritisation process that considers those three pillars, so community benefit, environmental benefit, and benefit to the economy. And that in turn informs our 10-year capital program. We have had significant increase in investment in our current price period. We started out in 2018 with an 8-year price period with an original capital program of 141 million. That has in fact grown to 350 million, which is a significant increase in investment. And we're proposing a similar amount of increased investment over the next price period, over the next 5 years. But we will be engaging on that draft capital program today and ongoing over the next couple of months, which is part of our price submission engagement process. And that includes engagements with councils, developments, consultants. And as part of our engagement with developers, we've already had 3 really successful development forums, including most recently on the 21st of November. And this all leads towards a deliberative forum planned as part of our price submission in March. I'd now like to hand over to Jill, who's going to talk a little bit more about our master plans. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Guy, and good morning, everyone. So our master plans are water and wastewater infrastructure plans that look across the next 50 years. They're developed for each town experiencing growth, and Benalla is one of them, and they are based on council's growth forecasts. So we have worked closely with each of the councils in our area to understand where they see growth occurring and when, and we are responding to that by working out what water and wastewater infrastructure is needed to support that growth. The master plans also consider multiple benefits that can be provided with the infrastructure that we build. For example, circular economy, integrated water management, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, building resilience to climate and other changes, and financial resilience, which is at the heart of everything we do, at North East Water to make sure that we retain financial sustainability. Master plans are not the same as our capital program, which sets out what we invest in and when, and I will take you through how the two are linked. Now, the disclaimer at the bottom of the slide there basically says these are plans for the future. They are subject to various factors, including council's planning and rezoning decisions, as well as North East Water's price regulatory process, where the Essential Services Commission reviews our proposed investments and makes a decision that informs what we can invest in going forward. So moving on. This is how master plans link to our capital investment. It's how we prioritise our infrastructure investments. First step there is the master plans, which identify infrastructure requirements to support compliance. That's environmental compliance, as well as public health or drinking water quality compliance, to make sure we continue to provide safe services to our customers. Renewals of our existing assets and growth, which is new infrastructure to support growth. Now, if we lined up our 15 master plans side by side and added up all the dollars in there, it's more than we can afford to invest in at one time. So we need to stage these investments over time. To do that, we look at that second step, which is a capital projects prioritisation process. We use a multi-criteria assessment to inform the order of investment. So we prioritise projects based on strategy and innovation, risk, the condition of the existing system, be that infrastructure and operations, social and community factors, environmental factors, drinking water quality factors, and financial factors. This then scores which of the projects deliver the maximum benefit to our community, and those projects are prioritised for earlier investment. We're currently in stage 3, which is the price submission engagement. As Guy mentioned, we have an external pricing regulator, the Essential Services Commission, and we need to prepare a submission to them that proposes what our investments will be over the next 5-year regulatory pricing period. And we're currently engaging with our customers and stakeholders on what they care about for our region and what their values are, so that we can make sure that we are investing in line with what our community desires. The final step there is the Essential Services Commission's review, where they look at our proposed investments to ensure they are prudent and efficient, and they make a decision on our customer tariffs, which is what we charge you for water and wastewater, from mid-2026 onwards. I'll now hand over to Tim Golland, who's going to talk us through some elements of how we're supporting growth in the region.
Thanks very much, Jill. And good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to touch very quickly on the relationship that our master plans have to the state government's housing targets. North East Water is committed to 31,200 new homes by 2051, and that's across the 7 council areas that are in the North East Water service area. And that 31,200 is a component of the broader 425 thousand new homes that are going to be required across regional Victoria more generally. Now, Guy's already spoken about the current price period and the $350 million worth of infrastructure investment that is taking place, and that includes $90 million this year alone on growth and other drivers in our area. And as Jill mentioned, with our prioritisation process, it's the master plans give us a long list of infrastructure that is required, and within our available capital program, we do need to prioritise that, and that's an important part of us demonstrating to our customers and others that we are prudent and efficient in where we spend our money. And the final point I'll just quickly touch on with this slide is that North East Water has, through planning permit approvals, an availability, I guess, of land for housing construction in some of our key towns that approximately gives us 3 years worth of growth in some of those key towns, and some of them mentioned there were Wodonga, Wangaratta, Yarrawonga and Bright, for example. The next slide that I just want to touch on is just putting some numbers around those housing targets. You can see Benalla there is highlighted in blue. Benalla, the share of the housing target is 1,600 approximately new homes by 2051. What that looks like just in terms of a year-on-year average is the next column across. That's 59 new homes a year on average. And over the last 5 years since 2019, North East Water, through issuing a statement of compliance, has averaged 78 new homes over that 5-year period. So we're confident that we've got the systems and processes in place that are going to be able to deliver on that 1,600 new homes for Benalla. Speaking of which, Morgan is going to now talk to us a little bit more about where those growth areas are.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and good afternoon, everyone. Predominantly, if you take Benalla there as east and west, as you look at the screen, so left of screen, right of screen. The right of screen would predominantly be commercial development, in that it would be mainly large industrial blocks of some sort within those blue areas. The other side of town then is residential based. So what we've done and why these areas and the timing of these areas are so important, it actually allows us to plan for what type of infrastructure we would need to accommodate these areas going forward in that a precinct servicing strategy. As you can see there, the medium term is highlighted in that navy blue kind of color, and the purple is the longer term. And more likely those longer term for the residential areas are actually unzoned land that's farming zone right now. So it will be moving beyond this, and this is the kind of documentation that we've worked with in consultation with council and coming from their own documentation that they've released is the next wave of land to be rezoned beyond the current available land blocks. From there, then we've taken this information, developed precinct servicing strategies. So for all these areas, we actually have an idea of what related infrastructure will be required to allow these developments to occur, albeit the long-term stuff is a fairly far away horizon. Yep, if you want to go to the next one, Eddie. So from that there, you develop what would be your draft 10-year capital program. So on the screen, you have future projects, 10 years. That would be a staged upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant, 1A and 1B. That would be the construction of additional lagoons on our existing site. And then also the Benalla raw water pipeline. Now that is predominantly a renewal, and that's actually a case study that I'll talk about later on. To give you an idea of some of the work that we've already completed, Devonish and Goornbat pump station and Clearwater storages. That was done, finished up sometime this winter, really. And what we've done there was actually the removal of the elevated tower in Goornbat and placed that town in a pressurized pump system. So what that is, it gives you the same reliability without having an elevated tower that's difficult for us to access, to check on, and all these kind of bits and pieces. Also in Devonish too, we removed the old tower from the network and installed a brand new pump station. And the Benalla raw water pipeline, that's a continuation or the beginning of the future project, whereby we're in a design phase. We're having to hit the ground kind of with construction early in the new calendar year with some valve arrangement and some of that sort of stuff up at our water treatment plant at Kilfeera. And then that'll continue on, picking the worst sections first and then working our way out until we've the whole pipeline renewed. Other renewals of various natures, which would be upgrades to aerators at the wastewater treatment plant, a water main replacement, the little bits and pieces like that would have been around the town. We also did purchase a piece of land adjacent to our wastewater treatment plant and constructed an operational depot there in this price period to date. What that does is actually allows us to expand our irrigation, which is our primary method of discharge from Benalla. So we utilize that for an unregulated revenue, which will be agricultural produce, which is pasture or lucerne really. And why the projects that are down there in the Wangaratta groundwater and aquifer recharge, part of our assessment and the ongoing growth forecasting that we have for Benalla, by 2040 there is a deficit in your raw water supply. That is a likelihood that you would exceed the 90th percentile threshold for your supply from the existing Upper Ryans Creek catchment. So we're doing a piece of work now investigating groundwater and aquifer recharge in Wangaratta. And the idea would be that would be Benalla's drought resilience. So the two would have to be connected by a pipeline, but it is at early stages yet. And we are looking at an alternative supply option rather than expanding the storage. And then Winton Wetlands carbon sequestration is just a piece of work we're working with there with other stakeholders and partners. Yep, if you want to roll on there, Eddie. To give you an idea of what sort of projects we are talking about, the total project value is 16 million, so we're forecasting we'll probably spend about 3 million this price period, and the remaining 13 within the next, and that would be the replacement of the raw water supply pipeline from Lake Loomba, as we call it on the drawing, but the Loomba Weir. What it is we've actually got a dual supply. One's a 300 cast iron and one's a 375. Now it's not built in 1865, it's 1965, so that's an error there. But we're replacing it with a 450 mm PVC or HDPE. We've already done 1,500 meters out of it. So this again is a continuation of that earlier piece of work that we've done. The construction of this is anticipated for the raw water main section is to be the 25-26 financial year, outside of us doing some valve arrangement. The idea of upsizing it there too is that you create that ability for that additional flow to be carried by the pipeline, which would accommodate with future upgrades more demand within the reticulation, because you do have the supply, you just have a little bit of a shortfall for that 9 out of 10 year gap. And yeah, I think I hand it back to Jill to go through this slide. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Morgan. So today we've focused on Benalla Rural City. If you'd like to know more about other master plans in Northeast Water's service areas, you can jump on and see these webinars. You can see there's 2 more scheduled day for Moira and for the rural city of Wangaratta. The other ones are already been held, so if you want to see them, you can jump online and see the recording. If you go to the Northeast Water Have Your Say page, you'll see it says Regional Master Planning Program. That's the one that's circled on the screen there. That's where you can sign up for new webinars, access the recordings, and sign up to be informed of any project updates. We're also keen to hear from you about our capital investment priorities and what you care most about. You have 2 options to provide feedback. One is to click on the Q&A at the top of your screen, and we'll go through your questions or comments now. The other one is to jump into that Regional Master Planning Program tile online. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's an opportunity to provide feedback on your Have Your Say page. So thank you. I'll hand back to Guy now.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jill. We're now at our Q&A session. So we have received some questions and we'll go through those. I'm going to hand over to Tim to take us through that Q&A session. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Guy. And yeah, we do have a couple of questions coming through, but just a reminder that if you do have one that you would like to ask, please pop it into the Q&A function in the chat. But the first question there is, how did Northeast Water take on board input from customers and stakeholders into master planning? And I'm going to give that one to Jill.
Thanks, Tim. So I mentioned earlier that we've consulted extensively with local government as the growth planning authority to ensure that the growth projections we're using for our master plans reflect not only any currently approved development plans, but also council's own sort of growth strategy and their forecasts about when and where we should invest. We've also sought input into our future planning via our regional leaders forum. We had CEOs and senior executive from across our region, from organisations including industry, business, First Nations groups, local government, and the Northeast Catchment Management Authority. And we specifically asked them what they sought from Northeast Water in how we partner to deliver value to our customers and community. We also regularly conduct customer surveys to understand what our customers value from us and how they think we're delivering. And we have regular conversations with developers and other business and community organisations around their intentions in the region. So all of this has come together to inform our master planning. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Jill. The next question I have here on my list is, how will I know when the next developments in my town will start? I think that's a question probably best for you, Morgan.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Well, we work closely with council. Also, a lot of these things are around engaging with Northeast Water to ensure that your development is within an area that we have a precinct servicing strategy is first of all, and then from there on, it's probably a timing based question really around the availability of our capital program, and that's all part of the feedback we want to receive there today as well from this webinar is when can certain things occur and at what period of time. But from a public point of view, I don't know who actually asked that question, it's actually managed by council and through a public scheme. What we are doing for our price period is creating growth servicing plans for our pricing submission, which is a 5-year outlook from 26-27 on. And what they will do is highlight areas where we can accommodate a certain element of growth within those catchments. Yep.
Thank you, Morgan. And I think it's probably also worth noting in relation to that question that our 5-year capital expenditure program does get refreshed each year, and that leading into our next price submission, we will have more certainty on our capital investments going forward. I do have another question here, which is related to, I guess, cost and impact on customers. And I think this is for you, Jill, but it essentially is, what will all this new infrastructure cost me as a customer?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So North East Water is committed to maintaining affordable bills for our customers. Now, our prices are also levelised over time so that customers experience gradual bill rises rather than rapid price rises. However, we do have the second lowest bill in Victoria, and we've had 15 years of fairly flat prices, and we can't sustain that to pay for the level of infrastructure investment that we need at this point. So we will be seeking price rises above CPI in our next price submission. So we have, I think Guy mentioned at the start, we've spent a lot more in this last 8-year price period than we were priced for. So we've undertaken significant new borrowings to fund that level of CapEx. So as part of our price submission engagement, we've recently consulted our customers on what they're willing to pay for in terms of water and wastewater services. And we've also had this online bill simulator, which asks 4 questions to our customers around their preferences around would they be willing to pay more for certain things. And we are summarising all that information and feeding it into our price submission engagement to make sure that we reflect any price rises that we put forward reflect what we're hearing from our customers and community. This all goes to our pricing regulator, the ESC, and they set our CapEx budget envelope and our overall approach to capital investment. And then we decide after that which are the most beneficial projects within that, capital investment envelope. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. I don't have any more questions coming through on the Q&A chat, although I'm happy to open that up if anybody else can see if there are. But if that's the case, I'm happy to draw the Q&A session to a close, and I'll hand back to Guy to close us out.
I'll just jump in. We've got one more, Tim, that's come through from Jamie. How do you bring in environmental protection and biodiversity into your master plans?
Thanks, Eddie. I might take that one as well. It's a good question because we've heard from our customers that many of them would like us to invest in environmental protection, including supporting waterway health. We're not the catchment manager, that's North East Catchment Management Authority, but we work closely with them to make sure that we collaborate on improving things that affect waterway health. In our master plans, I spoke about the multi-criteria assessment that we use for infrastructure, and we develop lots of different infrastructure servicing options in a master plan, and we compare them. And environmental impact and integrated water management are 2 of those criteria that we score. So integrated water management, for those that haven't heard of it, includes things like constructed wetlands and providing purified recycled water for irrigation of your parks and gardens and your sporting fields that support biodiversity and green spaces. So there's multiple ways in which we work to improve environmental protection and biodiversity. Thanks, Tim.
Jill, thanks, Eddie. Any final questions? I think that's over to you, Guy.
Great, thanks, Tim. We've reached the end of our webinar today, so thank you to everyone that's attended. Particularly thank you to those that have asked questions, and thank you to our presenters today, Jill, Tim and Morgan. I would like to remind you all that you can get further information and provide additional feedback on the Have Your Say page on North East Water's website. The address is there on the screen. And you can also get information about our customer support program. Supporting our customers is something that's really, really important to us, as well as your ongoing feedback. The QR code on the screen will take you to a very quick survey. We'd really appreciate you clicking on that link and giving us your feedback on how you found today's webinar. If not, we will be emailing a link to the survey to those that attended today. So I guess I'd like to close by saying once again, thank you. We hope that you have found today's session, which has been part of our price submission engagement process, informative. We look forward to you attending future webinars and hope that you have a great day. Thanks very much.